Good evening if you're watching live. Welcome to episode 179 of the About the Cards podcast live tonight on YouTube. As always, with host Stefan Loeffler at Junk Wax Twins.
That's me.
Ben Wilson at Our Trading Cards. We're podcast by collectors for collectors. We hope to bring you a smart and insightful podcast where we discuss trading card collecting. All cards tell a story. What stories do your cards tell? We are live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific.
10 Central.
We are, and you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at About the Cards. We're available as a podcast everywhere you can find a pod. You can check out our website, aboutthecards.wordpress.com. Let us know how it's going. We haven't been on there in a while ourselves. So a couple of announcements real quick. Again, we're trying to add more members to our About the Cards Buy Sell Trade group on Facebook. So if you're interested in joining, please search for us. We have two pages. We have the Buy Sell Trade group and the normal podcast page. If you can't find the buy, sell, trade, let us know. Somebody else was having issues. We'll see what we can do. Just real quick, also on a sad note, About the Cards would like to offer our sincere condolences to a really good friend of ours, Chris Carlin of Upper Deck, and his family. Chris's brother, John, had been long suffering from ALS and unfortunately passed away last week. So if you will accept our condolences, you'll be in our thoughts and prayers. We really appreciate everything Chris does for the hobby and his relationship with John. You could just tell they were, he really loved his brother. So please accept our condolences as once we heard the news. Yeah, it upset us. So if you need anything, Chris, Upper Deck family, please don't hesitate to reach out. We want to welcome in a special guest tonight, Matt Schwartz, Forensic Card Grading, or FCG. He is the CEO. And we want to welcome him. Hey, Matt.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And then also Andrew Renault's here with Bayside Breakers sitting in as the guest host in the box. And then, of course, we want to, Matt had quite a bit of people on his Facebook page saying, hey, where can we listen tonight? So if you're out there finding us for the first time, we appreciate you, even if it's one and done, just to come see what he has to say this evening. So we want to welcome any new listeners in as well. So,
indeed,
Matt, tell us a little bit about your backstory as a collector, and then what made you decide to get into the business side of card grading, and how did FCG come to be?
Sure. So, like most, I started as a kid, not necessarily with baseball cards or sports cards, when I was 5. Not to date myself, but I distinctly remember going to the card store and buying garbage pail kits. Those were my favorite, and I just recently got back into buying unopened boxes. Some of the series 2, 3, 4, and on up. Those series 1s go for about $20,000, but makes you wish you held on to what you had as a kid. But progressed from there as a kid, buying singles and everything like that. Took a little bit of a break, got back into it, and my thing now, and for the last couple of years, I'm a big Bowman guy. My handle on Instagram is at First Bowman Baseball, 1ST Bowman Baseball. And that's kind of my specialty is First Bowman Baseball, autograph stuff. So as a collector, I think a lot of us found ourselves in a position where we didn't really have an outlet, at least not for all of our cards. And I'm fortunate that I do have some higher end stuff. But I also have those $200, $300, $400, $500, $800,000, $1,500 cards where at current pricing levels, it just didn't make sense. The wheels started turning, and, I'm, pretty active in the community. I know there's other guys out there that are sitting on tons of stuff. And the thought came to mind, well, let's provide an affordable, accurate outlet for guys to be able to grade. And started putting the pieces together as far as the equipment that we needed. I'm fortunate that I've got a good staff with the other company that I operate, South Lake Mortgage, where I had some staff built in, guys that have worked with me and for me for years that I trusted, that I could build around. We got real lucky and hired a handful of additional guys to go along with that. And we ended up going live middle of July. And I think, 4 or 5 months later, here we are.
Then I would assume that you're based out of South Lake.
Yeah, South Lake, Texas,
Okay.
A little suburb of Dallas-Fort Worth.
I'm well aware. I'm in Grand Prairie.
Okay,
so.
Cool.
Not too far from.
And we do local pickup and drop off too, if you ever want to come by.
Interesting.
So something you and I had, we had a private conversation the other evening, kind of get to know each other a little bit better and just prep for the show. Something that's always been interesting to me is the hiring process, because it's not like you can just, if you're hiring for a restaurant, there are plenty of people that are experienced cooks. Maybe not with the style of restaurant, perhaps, but they know their way around, a restaurant. With this, how did you go about hiring your staff? Because it's not like there are experts that you can just go pick off the street, off of Indeed.
Exactly. So that was a major thought point. And the way I got around it, but worked through that, was by improving on the equipment that these guys are using to grade the cards. Because you're absolutely right. You're not going to find a guy who, with 20 years of experience, staring through a loop all day, looking at cards, who's going to do that. So for those of you that aren't necessarily familiar with how we do, and there's some YouTube videos up too. We've got our own YouTube channel where we've posted videos. We're using scopes for these things. And these scopes basically allow our graders to see anything and everything on the card. We use that. And also on the scopes, there's adjustable lighting. You've got to adjust the lighting based upon the card and all that good stuff. We've got the overhead magnifying lamps. But the short answer is we upgraded on the equipment and made it so any intelligent person with good training who wanted to could consistently and accurately evaluate these cards.
So just as a follow-up to that, you and I had spoke about like the multi-layered training process that you kind of perform to allow these individuals that are working for you to come up to speed, so that you felt that their transparency, their accuracy is going to be consistent with one another and what FCG stands for as a business.
Right. Because grading by nature is subjective, right? Sure. So it becomes a question of what level of subjectivity is acceptable, right? Mm-hmm. So we had the benefit of being able to, with the guys on staff and paid, of course, for about a month before we went live, right? With not a couple of beta orders, but primarily my cards, and not the higher end stuff, but $10, $20, $50 cards, some commons, that type of stuff. We've got thousands of those laying around. And the idea was to have the guys grade the same cards. And if they pick up 5 cards, they should be able to come within a half a point subgrade on each one of those 5 cards.
Sure. And
ideally, out of the 5 cards, say 3 or 4 of them are dead on, right? And then on that 4th or 5th card, you may get that half a point difference or variance on the edges or the surface or the corners, not on the centering. We've got well-defined criteria for what's a 10, what's a 9.5, what's a 9, and so forth. It's posted on the website. We measure the cards. There's no guessing. We've got the scopes, so we do it in the card on the penny sleeve, or in the penny sleeve on card with a transparent ruler on the microscope. And we've got a formula for it. You add the 2 sides together, and you take the difference. So say it's 50 by 53, and we're talking about tenths of a millimeter, right?
Sure.
So if it's 50, we call it by tenths. So 5.0 by 5.3, you've got a 3% or 3-point variance. 3-point variance divided by 103 would give you like 2.9 or something like that. So up to a 3% variance falls in a 10 on our scale. Up to a 7% variance, 9.5. Up to 14% eye test there. You can get away with a 9, and then it goes on from there. So
gotcha.
Really no subjectivity. And then on the back, stated on the website, it's got to be 80, 20 or worse for us to deduct on this centering grade based upon how the back is.
Okay, so I send you a card, and it doesn't grade well. You have a grading sheet that you guys use to send back to Ben saying, hey, sorry, your card graded this is the reason for the grade. And Steph's going to show it here. And with your permission, we'd love to tweet this out as well. I don't know if it's, or if you want to tweet it out.
But by all means.
Yeah, we want to share this just because, again, our big thing on this show, and I've said it multiple times to you personally, as well as on this show, we've said it 1,000 times. We are very transparent, and we will only report what we know. And if it's hearsay or innuendo. We make sure that people are well aware of that, that these are our opinions. And that's really the key as to what I really like about you guys is you use that keyword. And there's a great episode of The West Wing called Shibboleth where the president can't think of the word. He's basically going to grant them immunity here in the United States, but it's under religious
qualified immunity.
Yeah, basically a religious. And he was waiting to hear the word shibboleth, and he hears it, and that's what he knew that these individuals were sincere. Same thing with grading. My biggest problem has always been transparency, and the fact that you use that word so often makes me say, okay, at least you guys are trying to head this industry, this market segment in the right direction.
Right.
And so why don't you explain a little bit about what we're seeing here on the screen? This is your grading sheet, or you can correct me if that's not what you guys call it in-house.
Yeah, we just refer to it as our grader note sheet. And the whole purpose of FCG and how we've put this together is from a consumer standpoint, from a collector standpoint, as a hobbyist myself. How would I want my own cards graded?
Sure.
And part of the question the questions are, well, how are you grading my cards? And then the second big one is, well, how did you come up with that grade? Right. So, to solve the first one, again, we've put out multiple videos showing the equipment, all that good stuff. We've laid out the criteria on the website. And then the second part was the grading note sheet. So for any card with a subgrade of 9 or lower, you get the grading sheet directly from the grader, breaking out exactly how that subgrade was determined. And that way you're not sitting there twisting the card in the light and trying to figure out what somebody was thinking. You get a full detailed breakout of exactly how that grade was determined.
Is that per subgrade or is that overall?
No, it's on the subgrade. So
Okay.
you could have a gem, right? A 9.5 min gem, 3 9.5s and a 9, right?
Mhm.
And let's say the 9 was on surface. They're going to detail out on that form exactly what triggered that 9 subgrade on the surface. And let's just say you've got two 9 subgrades on there. One is on the surface. They'll detail it out, diagram with the coding on the bottom. And let's say the corners came in at a 9. On the corner, they'll mark off rounding, fraying, or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
With the correlating corner, whether it be on the front, on the left, or on the back, on the right. So they'll mark it off.
Now, this topic came up organically on our phone call the other night. We know that some of the other major competitors, really the big three, are PSA, BGS, and SGC. And I don't know if there's really a lot of debate that those are the 3 top ones at the moment. It'd be great to have more competition. I hate monopolies. I hate oligopolies. The way I look at it is the more the merrier, and let everybody, the market's going to decide, at the end of the day, who's worthy and how that market share will play out. And right now, PSA and BGS are really just living on their name value and their reputation, for better or worse. They really are the Pepsi and the Coke. Doesn't mean there isn't room for other sodas and other beverages.
Sure.
So I admire any startup. As a former business owner, hey, I would welcome an open market. But with those groups or those companies, I know that they grade in volume, and you do some simple math. They aren't spending very much time at all on a card by card basis. And the bottom line is some cards need a lot more time,
Right.
Especially when we start getting into vintage. And if you're going to take a card in the thousands and assign it a grade that could potentially add, tens of thousands of dollars in overall secondary valuation to it,
Sure.
30 seconds isn't going to cut it, in my opinion.
Agreed.
So I don't know what the average is on them. I don't know if you can speak to that, but
I have zero insight into what anybody does other than us. And
So-
the insight I have into what we do here at our company, we've published it in video form. We're proud of what we do here, to the point where we film it and we put it up on YouTube.
About how long on average, and again, this is a very, it just depends. I understand that. About how long does your staff spend on just any random individual card?
5 minutes. And it's whether it's a $10 card or it's a $10,000 card. It's an average about 5 minutes. We don't give special attention based upon, a brand or a type or a player or a value, nor do we upcharge based on value. We treat each card with respect. I mean, somebody's $50 card may be their prized possession, and there's no reason to spend any less time on that than somebody's $20,000 card.
It's all relative, right? Socioeconomics suggests that $5 to me, could be all I've got in the world. 100% of my net worth is $5, and $1 million to somebody else could be like one of us going over to the 7-Eleven and buying an icy, right?
Exactly.
Money is relative to how much you have in your pocket. In sales too. I love when people come in and they're like, I spent X amount of dollars with you. It's like, I don't care if you spend $1 or $1 million. I'm treating everybody the same, with the same level of respect that you deserve.
Right.
And that's, it's what you get. So I appreciate that. I can do the quick math. I will go on record saying I know PSA and BGS can't be spending more than 20, 30 seconds on a card. They just can't, to pump out the amount of hours they have times how many people they have. That turnover rate, they've got to be doing hundreds of cards a day per grader, and you divide it into 8 hours, and there's just 30 seconds is about what you get. Right. And I'm sorry, but that's how we get facsimile autos being graded as authentic, and altered cards being graded as unaltered, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of mistakes.
But I think worse than that, I think it's the first point that you made, that it's changing the value of a card by thousands of dollars in certain circumstances. And that guy who's paying up for a true gem or a 10 or whatever it may be may not be getting that. Or that guy who sends in a $10,000 card that's clean and thinks he's got a 10, and they slap a 9 on it, whoever it may be, they just whacked, X amount of dollars off of that guy's thing. Or card.
Absolutely.
I don't think that that's fair either. And then the game is, okay, crack it, resend it. I personally didn't want to do that anymore. And I talked with enough guys, and they just had enough of, all right, crack and cross, crack and do. And it gets old. I don't have time for it.
Well, and it's funny that you mention regrading. So you'd also sent us this as well. What's the story here?
It was a card that was in one of the forums. Just it looks like one that just kind of slipped through. It's not my card, fair disclosure.
Sure.
But it was a card that had just kind of slipped through. And look, it happens at every company. I'm sure it happens here too. But the time that we put in evaluating each card, again, regardless of the value, we're trying to narrow that level of subjectivity where if somebody grades with us, they know exactly what they're getting. And equally as important, when somebody buys an FCG slab on the secondary market, they know what they're getting. That's very important.
So just for the listeners out there that might be listening to the podcast and not viewing it, what we've shown here is a Panini Prism Justin Herbert rookie auto. It's a Gem Mint 10 graded by PSA. Okay. Sure. So I'm buying a PSA 10. The problem is, and the reason we wanted to show this is if you do view it, and we can tweet out the picture of it. Again, it's not owned by any of us. The top to bottom or the north to south grading cannot be a 10 because it's got to be 20, 80-ish, somewhere in that range. Judiciously, we could say 30, 70. It's very poor. It is not centered whatsoever. There's no way this can Gem 10 with the centering being as off as it is.
I wouldn't think so.
One of those egregious examples, but again, it's that more common. Is it a 9? Is it a 10? It's that gray area that again determines whether something is really worth a lot or maybe not or worth as much. It's that is really important to us. If you're paying us for an evaluation, you're going to get an evaluation, and you're going to get again notes with it, and you're going to get what you paid for.
But I'm paying for this Herbert that's a Gem 10 by PSA. And you could even argue maybe left to right a little bit. Maybe the lighting is off in the picture, but it doesn't look like it's completely centered left to right either. But I'm paying Gem 10 pricing for it, being the point. And in this particular example, we can clearly see the centering is not nearly. I mean, if you want to call like 55, 45, which is still not centered, but okay, we'll allow a little bit of deviation there. This is pretty ridiculous to get a Gem 10, and either they didn't spend enough time on it or whoever submitted it got preferential treatment. Either way, there's a lot of examples like this. This was just one that was shared with us. we've seen a lot of fly-by-night and other startup grading companies come out of the woodwork the last 18 months, 2 years, and I don't want to suggest FCG is that. There are a lot we've talked about on here many times. What sets you guys apart from some of the other startups we've seen over the past 2 years, and how would you sell your company to a new customer that says, hey, I need to have this card graded? Who should I submit it to? If I don't know, I've never done the process, and I've never sent a card off for grading personally. So if Ben wanted to do it, why FCG and not PSA or BGS or one of the other more recent startups specifically?
Sure. So it's the transparency combined with the accuracy, right? When push comes to shove, it's all about the card. No pun intended. It's all about the card. No company, no new company, to my knowledge, has gone out of their way to instill confidence in the accuracy of their grading. And that was important to me because as a collector, I don't care which lab is it in or what the label looks like. It's irrelevant to me. If I can trust that the underlying card is accurately graded, I will buy it if it's something I want.
Yeah.
And again, being transparent with how we grade, turning out consistent accuracy, right? And showing people what we're doing and how we're doing it, it was paramount to me. It's the only way that you're going to gain people's trust. And then the way you continue to earn their trust in their business is by continuing to perform. And the hope is, that we're doing enough of that, and we're starting to see it value-wise, that, what we're doing is starting to speak for itself in the form of secondary value. We're more than holding our own. And again, I believe it all has to do with the fact that we've gone out of our way to be transparent and instill confidence in what we're doing here.
No, it's important. I know you've already kind of answered this, but I still wanted to ask the question. We had Dr. Jim Beckett on the show a couple months back now, and he stopped the conversation. He's like, I got a question for the two of you guys. And he asked if you would rather be in the position of a PWCC, a PSA, a BGS, where despite all of their warts, they still have a reputation. They're still well known, and they're still the leaders in market share in their respective areas. Would you rather be that with a bad reputation but well known, or would you rather be a startup company with no reputation? Again, I'm the eBay seller that's got 30,000 sales, but I'm at a 99.2%. Or would you rather be the guy at 150 sales at 100%? It's that known quantity versus the unknown. Obviously, you are right now the startup, the unknown, so to speak, gaining reputation and putting your name out there. Obviously you started this business for a reason, so I know what your answer is going to be. You'd rather be the startup.
Well, it may surprise you. I think that the former has the advantage because they have the platform. They have the name recognition. And the key there is the resources where if they wanted to turn that reputation around and do things that were pro-hobby, pro-consumer, they absolutely could if they wanted to. Whereas on our end, we have resources and we have to scratch and fight tooth and nail to get, airtime and advertisement and people's attention. That's the biggest trick. And what we've had to combat is not falling in that new company bucket, right? You put up, if just a random guy stops by on one of our posts, they laugh, right? If they take 3 minutes to look at what we're doing, they become a customer. So that's the challenge as a new company, is having to get the attention of people so they can actually look at what we're doing, and not just assume that we're another acronym, right? Because what we are doing truly is different. Whereas again, that big company, they may have a bad reputation, but they've got the resources, and if they wanted to, they absolutely could turn that reputation around and do right by the hobby.
So you're saying that if the Herbert got the attention it got, then this is a PSA 10 as well?
There's no consequence for that. And when you have the name recognition, right, I can't even see who graded that or if it's even graded. But
it's not.
There's no consequence. And that's the crazy part, is that the market is allowing certain companies to get away with what they're doing. And when it got to the point where I again, a pretty big collector, I was having to ask for subsequent pictures of already graded cards to make a decision as to whether or not I was going to buy them. And when it gets to that point, the whole purpose of grading is gone. It doesn't even make sense anymore, because there's two reasons to grade, right? One, to protect your cards, right? But two, so you can sell your card, or at least know what you have, and then maybe subsequently sell it to somebody who isn't going to have the card in front of them where they can really evaluate the card. And when you lose that power, you've defeated the whole purpose of grading. It goes out the window.
What's the idea of a used car, right? Is similar to a raw card. There might be issues with it, but having that car that's brand new, fresh off the line, would be similar to having it graded. And it's maybe a weaker analogy or comparison, but that whole idea is, if you have a PSA 10, a BGS 9.5, an FCG 10, I should have, as a buyer, I should know that card is as perfect as the human eye can detect.
Right.
Within a slight deviation. A 9.5 and a 10 are probably close enough in certain areas, depending on why it got the 9.5. But we've seen with other examples that a 10 sometimes in that Herbert case should be considerably less due to the centering. But yeah, as a consumer, I should be able to buy it with some level of trust, especially when at the end of the day, this is just cardboard.
Right. And that's what I always say. I mean, it's not moving, right? It's not jumping around on the screen.
Yeah.
And you should be able to consistently do your job. And if you wanted to, and you have enough time to do it, right, you can do it consistently every time. And then on top of it, we have QC. On top of the time that the graders spend, we also have QC. Every card gets second look. We're looking for stuff that would be blatant or can be seen that would cause an issue too. So we have second layer QC on top of it as well.
Well, so many times you see it in different aspects of business. You see it where you have to be able to defend your position. You see it all the time in law school. You want to come at us from this angle, just be able to defend yourself. This is a 10. Okay, why is it a 10?
Right.
Because this is what I saw. I wear glasses. I don't have good eyesight. But at the very least, I could say to you, if I'm your employee, all right, Matt, this is what I saw. I came to my conclusion with this, and this. And if you disagree, then, of course, you have that room for it. We know some of the other big outlets, some of the other big companies just aren't doing that, because it's one of those, look at it, grade it, slab it, move on to the next, because again, they're doing it in volume, because where they're making their money is the more they get through, the more money they make. They aren't concerned with accuracy. They aren't concerned with consistency.
It boils down to accountability, and the market is not holding them accountable. They're getting a pass, and they're not going to change until the market doesn't give them a pass. And I can't say if I was in their shoes I would do the same thing, but I can definitely understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Well, yeah. I mean, we see it all having an economics background, see it all the time on Wall Street and the financial world. It's the wild, wild west. Nobody cares. You're in real estate. The 08 crash was predicated on all of these bad loans that were being, interest only loans. Everybody and their damn brother knew that market was going to collapse. But in that time, for a couple of years, everybody had their hand in the cookie jar, and everybody's bellies was full of sugar. And until the cookies ran out, and then the
cookies are starting to run out, and people are blaming it on all kinds of things, and they're not looking at the main culprit, which is a lack of access to affordable, accurate grading. That's the problem. That's what's driving people away from the hobby, right? That's what's causing people to lose interest. What holds the hobby together is the relationships. It's the friendships. It's the people. It's the interaction, right? And when you lose that outlet, right, where you can buy a raw card or what you feel to be an undergraded card, or rip wax, or buy into a break, right, and build equity by grading, guys lose interest, and that thread that holds us together, the relationships and the friendships, may or may not be strong enough to keep people tied to the hobby. And these guys that, say, oh, so what? Somebody else will come in. New money's coming in. I don't want to look at it like that. I don't want to trust that either. I would prefer just to just do things the right way. It's like, this whole thing about getting caught up or whatever it may be. It's, I don't know. I mean, if you could mow one lawn and make the same amount of money as mowing 10 lawns and not have to hire a crew to mow 10 lawns and make the same amount of money, if not more money, mowing one lawn, you'd probably mow one lawn. Right?
No, absolutely. And the problem with the new money theory is it's finite, and it's only, it's not in perpetuity. Collectors, true collectors, people that have been around forever, that started collecting when they were 5. We all started at very young ages. We'll be around forever and ever, even if there's not new product. Fanatics comes in and we all hate it. There's still stuff on our checklist that we want that we can go back and get. But new money is going to get bored quick because they're not connected to this hobby. Right. For them, it's just a vehicle for them to make money. I was having this discussion on Twitter earlier about, card purchaser had asked the question, how do you get people interested in cards? And people are like, well, with the money. It's like, not profits. How do you get people interested in cards? And you really have to have that connection, whether it was something we had as a kid. You mentioned your connection with Garbage Pail Kids and getting back into it. I'm watching a baseball game, a football game, and I want that player's card. Right. I want his jersey. I want a hat. I want a piece of memorabilia. How do we get them in cards? And I had to kind of shut down that narrative about money is temporary. And as soon as the money dries up, they'll find something else.
Yeah, if it's just about the cards itself, there's going to be a problem. I firmly believe, and what keeps me in the hobby, right, is the relationships. Sure. The friendships. I have far more hobby friends who I consider real and true friends, who I know would be there if I needed something, and vice versa. Yeah. Than I have real life friends. And truthfully, I spend more time talking with my hobby buddies than I do anybody else.
It's funny. Steph and I have known each other.
Yeah.
Steph and I have known each other for 10 years. We've done this podcast for going on 3.5, 4 years now. Never met in person yet.
Right.
But lifelong brothers. That's the way it is. We don't have to like each other. We're stuck with we have a hate relationship. So are you at all concerned? Fanatics has taken over in a couple of years officially, and they've talked about potentially, or it's been speculated on, that they're going to have an in-house grading system where it's a one-stop shop. We'll rip it for you with a breaker. We'll grade it for you. We'll ship it to you. You can sell it, trade it on our marketplace. Are you at all concerned about what that might mean for FCG's long-term outlook?
Not necessarily. Again, it falls back on what we were just talking about. It's the action. That's another thing that the guys like. It's the action. It's the relationship building. It's that. If you could go to a website and check out, it takes the fun out of it. It takes the fun out of the hunt. It sucks what draws a lot of us to the hobby, that action part of it, where it doesn't concern me, to be honest with you.
Now, I again didn't know a lot about you originally. A couple months ago, obviously, you and I, through your Facebook page, kind of got connected when I had made a comment based on some feedback I had gotten on Twitter. And again, feedback is, again, go Google and Yelp your favorite restaurant. There's going to be bad reviews. Sure. And people are very quick to say negative before they'll say something positive. That's just the way people are. It's how we're wired nowadays.
Keen to know quite well.
I'm a very positive person. The next negative thing I will say will be the first. So
about that topic.
But that's kind of how we got connected, and we've had some very, very open and honest conversations. And I really wanted to give you this platform to come on and introduce yourself, hopefully to even just one more person, a potential customer, somebody that might consider you guys instead of going to PSA and BGS. Always give your money to the local coffee shop before Starbucks. But in perusing your website and your Facebook page now, I've seen quite a bit of higher end cards being graded by FCG. Do you grade run-of-the-mill cards? I mean, if I wanted to send you an 87 Topps Mark McGwire, do you grade those?
Sure. So it was part of, again, having the advantage as a hobbyist and collector. Certain brands, right, you associate those brands with lower-end cards. That's it. And I'm not going to name names of grading companies, but when you look, that's pretty much all you see, right? And it was more important to me, sure, if we had priced this thing at $15 a card, we would have had cards pouring out of here, and we would have been in the green, and that would have been great. In theory, it would have been short-lived. It was more important to me to build a brand. And building a brand as a collector, how do you do that? You gain confidence and trust by being transparent and accurate, putting out a good product. But also, if you have good cards in your cases, it bodes well. We took a top-down approach. We went after true collectors, guys with higher-end cards. And sure, there were some days here where guys would sit around with not much to do, right? But it was more important to us to build a brand than anything else. And that's what we did. And while other companies are raising prices, right, we actually just lowered our prices. We have more cards coming in now than before, obviously, quite considerable amount more. And What did we do? We lowered our price. We want to stay true to our why, which was, again, to bring affordable, accurate grading to the hobby. That's it. So we absolutely, we've built that brand recognition. We could have leveraged it and raised prices a little bit. We went the other way. We want to make it more accessible to everybody.
What is the current turnaround time on your cards, roughly?
So we have one service level, right? Mm-hmm. Fast. And we're quoting right now, it's 10 days or less. It's not quoted in business days. It's 10 days or less.
10 days from receiving to shipping it out the door?
Correct. 10 days or less. And technically on the order form, it's quoted in business days, 10 days, 10 business days. And it's from the time that we deliver the grades electronically, because we email the grades to the customer. And it's quoted on the order form as, hey, 10 business days, as stated, starting from the time they're received to the time we deliver the grades by email. But as it stands right now, we're turning these things door to door from the time it hits our door to the time it leaves, well inside of 10 days.
Okay. So a couple questions from chat here. From Derek Sigsworth, why as collectors should we let PSA decide what our cards are worth regardless of condition and charge accordingly? So I think that being when he sent in a submission to PSA, they have their different tiers as far as what it will cost to have it graded if the card is worth this price range, that price range, etc.
Yeah, so I just don't understand how you can remain objective when you're going to profit based upon the price of the card that you determine.
And the problem with that is PSA's taken how many months to grade this card? How much was Boble worth 6-8 months ago? Now look at his cards. You submitted a card 6-8 months ago for some guy thinking it was going to be a great player, and then now he's still there but not what he was before. Is PSA going to charge you based on what it was when you first submitted the card, or is it what it is now currently because they took so long to turn around the card?
Well, there's other levels to that too. Yeah. A buddy of mine, Nick, and I were having a conversation a couple weeks back. He got a couple cards back. They whacked him for a $600 upcharge on a Bobby Witt Jr. Speckle auto, and it just didn't fall in line with comps. And it's just there weren't comps at that level, and they're determining what cards and what comps, and not only that, they're determining the card value and then determining the comps on top of it. I mean, the bottom line is if we as a startup or new company tried to do that, people would never do business with us.
Well, because if they're going to tell you the card is worth $600, then it doesn't sell for $600. Then what? Is PSA going to give you money back because it actually wasn't worth that much?
Yeah. I mean, look, my thing is this. If I wouldn't tolerate it as a consumer, there's no way I would do business like that. Not only that, the market would never allow us to do that. And until the hobby starts to hold certain companies accountable, nothing will change. That's all.
Do you grade oversized jumbo cards, thick cards? No.
No. As it stands, standard size. We do thick stuff. We've got up to 180 point, but nothing above that. We don't do booklets or anything like that. We don't have the inserts for the minis yet. We've got the tobacco card inserts for the slabs. But
I was just about to ask about tobacco.
Yeah, literally the only card I ever sent in is actually an 8x10, like 97 Studio or something was it, just to get the case on it.
And it's something we will do in the future. I mean, it's just if the demand there, it's somewhat cost prohibitive to have the mold made, have a welder for it, all that stuff. So, I mean, down the road, we'll add stuff to our repertoire. It was important to get the thick stuff out there. But we'll pick up some pieces as we move along.
Yep, that's okay. A lot of times with market share and scaling, it's okay to stay in your lane, and as long as consumers know that, if I've got something pre-war, I'm probably going to send it to SGC because their reputation is really solid when it comes to pre-war.
Usually pre-war cards look nicer in their black background slipcase. But
I agree with you. Guys have been asking us to do TCG stuff. It's just not where we're at right now. You know what I mean? We may add it down the road, but I'm a big believer in specialization. It's how I run my mortgage business. It's how we run this company, FCG. Do what you're great at and do it great, and do it 100% of the time. And then if we can do some of the other stuff like TCG, great, and do it 100% of the time, we'll add that. But same thing with authenticating autographs, right? Until we can do that 100%, we're not going to authenticate autographs either. We want everything we do to be done the right way every time.
And that's
to do something.
That's how scaling works. We're gonna do this. We're gonna build our reputation, and then we'll take that step up to the next step down the road if it makes business sense to us. If there's enough of a demand from us to get into another segment, we can definitely add that. But it's important. Again, stay in your lane for now. Build your reputation, and as that begins to grow, and it will happen. And one thing that I've always wanted to ask your grader before we let you go. Are you at all concerned by the liability that comes from housing collectors' cards during the grading process and then, of course, getting them back home safely?
No, we're fully insured. We have a dealer's policy that covers, it's an umbrella policy that covers everything, including shipping.
Gotcha. Okay. I was just curious because, I'm sending you a card that's, again, and it mean the world to me. 1986 Topps Eric Davis is the reason that I got into this hobby. I sent it to you because I need that one protected above all else. You look at it. I'm going to ask you one last question before we let you go, and it really epitomizes this. It's that Davis means more to me than it would mean to Eric Davis's mom and Eric Davis, and it means something to me and me alone. It's value versus worth. It doesn't matter what it's worth. It means something to me, and leads into our last question for you for the night. What we ask all of our first-time guests. You can only own one card. What would it be? Got to get rid of them all. Just one you can keep.
Oh, that I have or that I would want?
You can answer it both. Typically, we like the one that you have because it usually means something to you and you alone.
The red Bobby Witt Jr. First Bowman auto. That's probably, not probably, it's the centerpiece of my collection. He's a local kid. I think he's going to be more than a stud. I think he's going to be a superstar. He hits at the same facility that my kid hits at. Bobby Witt Jr. Red refractor auto, first Bowman. That's if I had to get rid of everything, that would be the last one I'm holding on to.
That's awesome. There's no right or wrong answer with that. I'm a big McGuire collector. Andrew, big Will Clark guy. We always go back and forth. Who was the best first baseman of that era?
We don't go back and forth. I acquiesce.
That 87 Flair Will Clark, one of my favorite cards growing up.
Not even.
I like the Topps one personally, the 87 Topps, but I respect the Flair was always out of my price range back in the day.
So Derek Sigsworth in our chat, I don't know if you know Derek. He says what you guys are doing is providing real grading with transparency that is public no matter the value of the card, 10 days or less. $194 shipped and insured for one card with PSA versus $54 shipped and insured with you guys. Location pending for shipment. $140 basically in your pocket, and you get real transparency. So I just kind of wanted to pass those kind words along from Derek. Consumers always, that's where it comes down to. I mean, you're building your reputation. Derek's had good experience, good insight. Where can our listeners find you if they don't already know where that you guys are at as far as website, social media, etc.?
Sure. The website, fcggrading.com. I would encourage folks, especially if you're new to the hobby, check out the Facebook group. We've got about 3,300 members. We get compliments all the time. A lot of the bashing and rousing and picking on that you get in some of these Facebook groups just absolutely doesn't happen in our group.
I did see that Facebook group is linked down at the bottom of your page. So if anybody is attempting to find it, that's one route. So
Yeah, it's
Sorry to interrupt.
FCG Forensic Card Grading is the group on Facebook, but we just have a really great group of guys that are always more than willing to help. There's none of the bashing and all that stuff that goes on in some groups. But I would encourage you to check out the group, the website, and then we're always available for questions and all that good stuff for you too.
No, we definitely appreciate you coming on tonight. We appreciate everybody that you've brought into our chat room and perhaps become new listeners for our show. I was skeptical, and so far I'm on board. I'm not a grader personally, but Steph and I would have no problem, speaking highly of what you guys have shown us so far. You're the first grader we've had on the show in 3.5 years, so that's got to speak volumes as far as our listeners go. That we've been very hesitant to invite anybody on just to self-promote. I mean, we've had PSA, like I mentioned, hey, can we come on? Sure. And then they're like, but we're going to give you guys the questions to ask. And we're like, sorry, we don't have time for that nonsense. That's not transparent. If you're going to pre-write them, then it's like, cool, just give us a 30-minute video that we'll play at the top of the show.
All right.
Just real quick, too, there was a really interesting video, if you guys haven't checked it out, on the YouTube channel for FCG about a trimmed, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom Brady.
Yeah, it was a Tom Brady Chrome rookie.
Okay.
Chrome. And again, along the lines of what we've been talking about, just transparency and bringing knowledge to our base. But it was determined by the grader that it was trimmed. And what we decided to do was film it and give everybody a good look. You can check us out on YouTube. You put in FCG grading. We've got, probably 7, 8, 9 videos up where we break down the process, how we do it, some good stuff. So definitely check that out too.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it, Matt. Yeah, good video. It wasn't a very long video. I think it was maybe 8 to 10 minutes, maybe I'm mistaken, but roughly there. You can kind of see what the process looks like and how you guys look at cards. The lighting and everything had to change. It's like, let's get the lighting better. Let's measure it side to side and really take a look at why we're saying this is trimmed, and we'll show you the side that was the factory cut versus what we appear to be the trimmed cut. And it was very interesting to see. So, keep up the good work, Matt. You're always welcome to come back on at a later date. If you want to come on again, we can get you scheduled. We really appreciate your time this evening. And, thank you for your transparency, if nothing else.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. And please feel free to post up in the group and all that good stuff. I like what you guys are doing.
Hey, sure. Appreciate it, Matt. We'll talk soon.
You got it, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you. All right, Matt Schwartz, CEO, FCG Forensic Card Grading. Check them out if grading is your thing. Let us know if you decide to go with them and what your results are. We'd love to share it. If you've tried them and don't like them, hey, let us know. We would, Matt and I, kind of met under interesting terms after Steph and I had talked about him on a previous show and said, hey, you want to come on and introduce yourself to hey, great. We've had some different things on in the past, different individuals that didn't always align with what we think, and definitely want to at least give an opportunity for Matt to get his story out there as an alternative, as anti-oligopolists that we are. So
sure. And I mean, grading isn't for everyone, but it's nice to see that some of the upstarts seem to be doing it right. And I've talked to them in person because they shared a booth not too far from the ComC booth at the previous Dallas show. So, it's nice to see.
Yeah. Try them out. Don't try them out. Hey, that's completely up to you. What we think about grading. We're not necessarily fans, but I wanted to give Matt an opportunity to introduce himself as an additional option to the PSA BGS Stranglehold. And I can appreciate what they're doing.
Already subbed. I assume that's supposed to be subbed with them. Great customer service. It's nice to hear.
They're very active on Facebook, so I will give them that. They don't take a lot of time to respond. It's you ask them a question, somebody's going to reach out and get you an answer, or I can appreciate that. The customer service, especially since we know other customer service within the hobby are not very good.
What?
Well, and speaking as someone who
surprising.
works in customer service, it's interesting to see clear examples of bad customer service and clear examples of good customer service. So,
and Eric Weiss, I hope I pronounced first and last name correctly, says, I'll say the FCG has not disappointed me in the cards. I've submitted to them. My collection has many from numerous grading companies, and their business model is very hobby-focused for sure. So, hey.
That's great to hear.
Interesting. Yeah.
We appreciate it. We didn't know a lot about him. Again, Matt and I, I said something in his group, and he reached out to me privately and said, hey, let's talk. And, I really appreciate that. Brian Nalapinski, I hope I pronounced that correctly, says you can send them a question. They get back to you fast. Fast is all capitalized. I have to agree. And what little I've seen in that group, they're very responsive. So if nothing else, they've done quite a few things good. I'm sure that's a reflection on his other business models with his mortgage company and whatnot. So let's get into the show.
Can we get a bit of breaking news before you bounce into mail day?
Well, we're about to do a baseball lockout here in 7 minutes.
I was going to say, can we get like a clock going here on the side?
Hunter Renfroe has been acquired by Boston in exchange for Jackie Bradley Jr., David Hamilton, and Alex Binelas.
For Jackie Bradley.
So JBJ back to Boston as of 10:30.
All right, 7 minutes, guys. We're going to see a baseball lockout live here on About the Cards.
59, not technically not
59.
That's right, it's 59.
59. It's not a zero.
All right, so if there's major breaking news, we'll break it, but it doesn't look like we will. So this just in, listener mail days. This week's feature courtesy of Matt McNeil. I think this is the first time we've had him featured at 1986 Astros. If you're on Twitter, I went on his Twitter profile today to grab this. He is grossly underfollowed. He's a great hobby follow. I don't know if he tweets all that much. Maybe that's why, but Matt's a great friend of the show. And I would say this is a super mail day, Steph. I don't know if you've got it handy. We can show it.
You should go sit in the corner for that.
So what do we got there, Steph?
Ooh.
This is a 2021 Stadium Club Chrome. Jose Altuve.
Club Chrome or Stadium Club Chrome?
I think it's Chrome.
I think it's Chrome.
Is it base release chromed out or
101 Super Fractor.
That's pretty.
As well as a Steve Garvey with the Los Angeles backdrop. For as great as Stadium Club does on their regular photos, their autographed versions are that much nicer.
Mm-hmm.
And some throwback, looks like playoff absolute memorabilia, I think 2005, Red Spectrum Bagwell, and I would have to do some research on that one. I'm drawing a blank.
Dot Elite, maybe?
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Steph doesn't know what it is, so basically the card doesn't exist.
It's a custom. It doesn't exist.
I kind of like it with the initials.
I do. Yeah, it's kind of cool. JB.
It's awesome for Matt. He's a huge Astros fan. He gets into local breaks at his LCS, and they get divisions. So he's sent me some A's cards quite often. So for him to get an Altuve of all superfractors, for him to get an Astros for one, and then for it to be an Altuve, that's got to be pretty
out of
sweet.
A break, no less.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Good for Eminem as we call him. Please feel free to share your About the Cards mail days. You can tag at About the Cards on Twitter, like Herman Bryant did a couple of weeks ago. Last week, did a video of stuff that Andrew sent him. Look at that. Call back. You sent a video to us. Try to keep it under 60 seconds if possible. Please keep them G-rated. Hashtag About the Cards mail day. We'll do our best to feature your cards on an upcoming episode. We definitely love seeing new cards, especially that kind of stuff. And that's awesome. Anytime you get a PC card that's amazing, whether you buy it, especially when you pull it. I know, Andrew, you've pulled some cool stuff out of your personal breaks, rips and stuff. That's always
I pulled stuff
awesome.
out of his boxes too.
I bet you have. You did. Did. Pulled a Will Clark, didn't you?
Yes,
I did.
It was a quad relic auto from Diamond Kings, numbered 10, right?
10, I believe, yeah.
But it made it back home, right, Andrew?
Yes, it did. Of course it did.
That's the main thing. Again, it's all about getting the cards in the right hands of the right collectors. And, I don't have the cards in front of me anymore, but I want to thank Tanner Jones at Tan Man Baseball Fan. he sent me some Mercury News A's stuff. I'll have to take some pictures and share it on Twitter. Really surprised. I really appreciate him sending me that. So thanks, Tanner, if you're out there. As far as the lockout goes, it's possible. They were saying that the CBA ends tonight at midnight Eastern. There might not be an official lockout or strike for a couple weeks yet. That's just more of a formality.
It technically can't be a strike because there's nothing for them to strike.
They should still strike because it gets a little convoluted, and then there's some splitting hairs between what's really the difference between a strikeout or strike and a lockout. If they want to negotiate in good faith, not locking the players out, thus allowing teams to continue to negotiate, would be fantastic. But I guess it really depends on how close they are economically. And again, it
sounds like they're not that far off though on a bunch of these things.
I think a lot of it just comes down to really the arbitration setup, getting younger players paid quicker. Mm-hmm. I think that's really what sticking points are. The expanded playoffs, the universal DH, pitch
I don't think they
timers and all that stuff. I mean, that stuff will work itself out in the wash. I think it really comes down to revenue sharing.
Dumb idea they posed.
Which one?
The playoffs
to 17,
where they get to pick the teams.
Yes.
Yeah. To me, that's
dumb.
All you're gonna do is you're just gonna make the team that got picked pissed, and gonna give them.
Because for example, why would the Yankees not pick the Twins? Or Oakland, or Kansas City, or Tampa Bay? No. Get out of here with that.
Yep. And there it is. It's just officially, the CBA is officially over.
We're going to get into this a little bit more here in the hobby talk section as it pertains to the hobby. So we can get into it a little. Oh boy. The week that was, last week's release is Topps Living Week 194 was card 469, Robin Yount, shortstop for the Brewers. And card 470, Evan White, first baseman for the Mariners, rookie card. Don't have the sold listings. Kind of a slow week last week. 2021 Panini Chronicles
doesn't have them.
Topps didn't have a lot of Topps Living today. 2021 Panini Chronicles basketball came out last week. 2021 Bowman Draft first edition.
Actually?
And 2021 Leaf Metal Pop Century also came out.
Bite my words.
I can't tell if you guys are doing that on purpose or not right now.
Steph sometimes talks, and then I don't know if I need to pause. So anyway, not a big week last week. Hot off the presses, new releases. What are the Topps Living cards? We don't know because they didn't release them.
The living set print runs 23.36 for Yount and 15.45 for Evan White.
Not bad.
I can't believe it took that long for Yount to get a card. Honestly,
it's a great card
it's
too.
A gorgeous card.
Mm-hmm.
No new
We're
Topps
not just
Living?
saying that because we like the artist. As far as the current release, you can buy it though.
We had a little bit of fun with Topps Living artist Jared Kelly today on the Twitter. Topps had sent out their daily email. It didn't have Living in it. It wasn't on the website, as we can see, even as of this late hour. Image coming soon. Jared Kelly actually responded saying it might be his fault that he had painted the picture of Tristan McKenzie of the Cleveland Guardians with the Cleveland logo on it, the big C on his cap. And he said, it might be my fault. I need to swap out. I think they wanted to go with the Guardians logo on that particular card.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead and read the tweet, Steph. I thought it was funny.
Sure. Some of that could be my fault. I failed to place the new C logo on Tristan's hat. I have got wet paint on my brushes as we speak. Tristan will be swapped out for the player scheduled to drop next week. So, or next Wednesday, sorry. So the interesting bit, because you guys went back and forth, and Cardboard Stat said, hey, so maybe one that Junko X Tims would approve of this week? And Jared replies, after Thanksgiving vacay, I barely remember who I painted so far. I'll head over to my website
Jesus.
to refresh my memory. And
I told him how
I may have
if you-
misread some of that because if you head on over to his website and check out his current gallery.
There's the McKenzie right there.
There
who is
is a
that I thought he
over.
just had really bad typos. That is really clever if he did that on purpose.
I don't know what he would have done, sir. It's just a typo on his phone.
That is
clever.
That's very clever. Kudos there.
And McKenzie looks great.
I didn't know they were changing their logo. Why?
No, they're
Well, I don't know about
going
the
to
Cleveland-
Guardians.
Well, the
But
Guardians
still,
logo.
the C is Cleveland.
I don't know what he put on the cap. So maybe it was an older logo or something. I don't know exactly. But I guess according to Matt Major, Cardboard Stats says the Tristan has the old C ? Changing it to the Guardian C, perhaps. It'll be interesting. We'll probably end up getting Topps Living tomorrow. I told Jared, I said, hey, we're not mad at you. We're just really disappointed. and you're going to need to serve a timeout.
That's almost worse. It's like,
yeah,
you hear that from a parent. It's like, I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed. I'm like, that's
he did say that's the coffee mug that his wife and kids get him every Christmas. We're not mad at you, Jared. Just disappointed. So we had some fun. Jared's a great guy. We'll have to get him on again soon. He was a fun listen, and he's been a really good friend to the show. So we appreciate him saying, yeah, he fell on the sword. Maybe it was his fault, but
you're not wrong there.
The Topps Living Star Wars available through next Tuesday. Card 261, Major Bren Derlin from Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. And 262, Rick Ollie, Star Wars The Phantom Menace.
2 solid cards. I recognize both of these guys.
I recognize the movies. I hope I recognize the pictures.
So let's go with this guy.
Oh, okay. All right.
From the hot scenes. And then Rick Ollie is that dude.
The pilot.
I believe he was
right?
the pilot, yeah.
I never knew he had a name.
Yeah, it's amazing how many of these characters have come out, especially for like the last 80 cards or so that Steph and I have been featuring Top Star Wars Living as part of the show notes. And you're like, that guy had a name. He was probably given well after the movie for the canon. Also, according to the Star Wars canon, Jar Jar Binks was never killed, so there's a good chance we'll see him in The Mandalorian at some point.
No, because he was actually secretly the I won't get into that fan story.
It's pretty impressive, but no.
So Topps Throwback Thursday available through tomorrow morning, set 47. It's the third release of the 1975 football highlights, featuring Randy Arozarena at card 139. 140 is Shohei Ohtani with the short print variations, and 141 Robbie Ray. So what do you got there? Rookie. It's the American League Rookie of the Year, MVP, and Cy Young.
Yep.
So we'll have one more week of that, which will drop tomorrow.
So does that mean we're going to assume next week's is Bryce Harper, Matt? I don't even remember who won the NL Cy Young. Then are they going to do the same thing with the NL next week?
Was it
Soto?
Corbin Burns?
Yeah, it was Stephenson. Stephenson won the Cy Young, rookie.
Yeah, and then Burns of the Brewers.
Yeah.
So then if they do the same order, then that would mean the MVP being Harper gets the short print. So we'll see if we're right on that. Topps Holiday came out this week sometime.
Yes, it did.
Kind of varying different price points. I saw $35. Steph, I think you said it was a little bit cheaper.
I got it for $21 a box.
Is that the mega box?
That is this one right here.
In India. India won National League Rookie of the Year.
Oh, India. Okay.
So he should be part of that if they're doing the National League tomorrow. So Topps Holiday, $20, $30, the mega box. You're going to get 10 packs in a box, 10 cards in a pack, and then you will get 1 hit per mega. It'll either be an auto, a relic, or an auto relic. It's a 220 card base set, which will feature cards from Series 1, Series 2, and Update. And interesting enough, Update didn't do this, but Holiday corrected it. You will see some of the players in their new teams. You will see Chris Bryant as a Giant, Scherzer, Trey Turner as Dodgers. Steph, I think you said that Marte and Luzardo, when I was asking about the A's, you said Luzardo was a Marlin and Marte was an A. So it looks like they have corrected some of the stuff that they weren't able to do an update and got some of these trade deadline players on their new teams. Steph, you want to show a couple of the more major stuff that came out?
Sure. For example, there's your Marte, if it'll focus. So kind of a plain design. I kind of like the candy cane across the top. Now actually seeing it in hand. I don't know if the super busy card picture background is my favorite. It kind of looks like those like Indian Hindu-esque door replacements where they just have the little beads hanging down. But that's my personal preference. But each box you get an ornament that looks like this.
And it's
Several
actually
of
an
mine
ornament, right?
were unpunched, but not all of them were unpunched.
That is cool. I like that.
Got Clayton Kershaw, Corey Seager, Wilson Contreras, and Pete Alonso. So here's the back. You frame it. There we go.
That's one per box?
One per box. Nice shiny reflective surface, kind of wrapping around the border. And then the player's wearing a Topps cap, which I didn't get one, but these are numbered to 25. You'll have a piece of the hat that the player is wearing there.
Oh, that's cool.
Much rarer relics. So one ornament a box, roughly one short print a box. So in this case, I got Casey Mize with a armband with a candy cane, but he's also holding a snowball.
That's awesome.
One for Herman here. Freddie Freeman with some elves in the stands.
Oh.
Maybe some of Santa's workers. Corey Seager with a Santa Claus belt.
I like those.
I like that.
There was one that like had like some random reef right on the player's arm. Like that is the dumbest thing I've seen. Some of these are really neat. Some of them leave a little bit to be desired.
So Chris Bryant has a armband as well. That's holiday and festive.
I think that's the most common short print variation. I think.
Then there is these two, where he's got some Christmas lights coming off of his glove. And then my personal favorite, Xander Bogaerts wearing a Santa cap.
Nice.
So the short prints, nothing super special. Like I said, about one a box. I think I had 7, maybe 8. But the relics, the relics are my absolute favorite. And I'll show those in a second because there are, again, as well, like previous years, the holiday snowflakes, which really don't show well on this camera. But there's the same type of texturing on the top with a little bit of glitter. But the relics is where Topps slams this one out of the park. You got a picture of the player, a picture of a snowman, and the center piece on the snowman is the relic window.
That's how you do a white relic right there.
Right. So I got Aaron Judge with a pinstripe, Cody Bellinger with a gray.
Please tell me someone is yellow.
Trey Turner. Well, I did get a non-traditional color. Trey Turner with a gray.
Yellow snow would have been awesome.
Dylan Carlson. See, now I want one of those. Dylan Carlson, Ryan Mountcastle, plain white. So I did get a plain white. And Dalton Varsho of the Diamondbacks in a nice bright red. And this just reaffirms my love for Topps Holiday because it's a gorgeous looking set. Usually, they, unlike their hobby releases, the price is good. It's like I said, 21 a box, ring up. Price point's right. There are some fun things to look at and to chase. There's more than an insert per box. And unlike the hobby stuff, you actually get something cool in each box. It's just a product done right. So I'll give Topps a lot of props on that.
Is there still no checklist up though?
Cracknell has the full checklist. He's working
Cracknell
on
had
the
it.
short prints. I will say though that for the 6 boxes that I broke, I ended up 4 base cards short, and I still need 2 twins to complete the base set. I have a full twins team set, but those 6 are up on my Twitter time feed.
I'll help him out if you can. Ryan also has a variation guide. I don't think it's 100% complete quite yet, but it's pretty complete. If you want to go check out the variations and see what kind of interesting stuff they threw on which players. So, and there's different levels of short print and rare and whatnot.
There's rare, short print, super short print.
So I want to run through just the rest of the week's releases. We're kind of, we got some topics we want to get into, and the show's kind of running a little bit long here. 2021 Panini Contenders Optic Basketballs came out today, around $500 a box, I think. Hard to find a price point. You get 1 pack, 6 cards. You'll get an auto, 4 inserts or parallels. Also coming out today was Panini XR Football, coming at you at $400 a box. You'll get 2 packs, 7 cards in a pack, 2 autos, a mem, an insert, 4 parallels.
Andrew, do you want to show that one that you showed pre-show? If you have it,
and then there's one of one auto per case.
The Micah.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the cool things they got with the rookies, and as soon as it focuses, you can see they got the rookie logos kind of embossed in the background.
That's a good looking card. That is a good looking card.
XRs are pretty nice.
And then also coming out today is, Friday, Panini Mosaic Basketball Hobby. Comes out Friday, $999.95, $1,000 a box. You're going to get 10 packs, 15 cards a pack. You'll get an auto, 5 silvers, 15 mosaics, and 20 inserts. $1,000 for a hobby box. It's like, I saw hobby and I was like, oh, it's probably $300-400 probably, perhaps higher end. $1,000. It's a friggin' hobby box, dude. Stop.
Just wait till Prism. Just wait till Prism.
I will say that Mosaic this year has looked amazing. I've opened a few of the baseball products and I've seen some of the others. But yeah, that too. It's $1,000 a box, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
They all better be straight fire.
Matt Major says he loves Holiday as well because it's got the latest updates, fun SP, smaller set. Getting a lot of hate on Twitter and Facebook. It's really one of those polar opposites. You either love it, hate it. There's not a lot of in between.
Outside of DK, it's Topps Holiday and Topps Chrome update for me. So,
also releasing this week, 2021 Topps Brooklyn collection. Montgomery Club exclusive did not sell out to Montgomery Club. It came out on Monday. Also coming out this week, it's an individual card release. The Topps Holiday Advent dropped yesterday. It's a 20 card set. You'll get 1 card per day, just like Topps Now, only available for 24 hours. $9.99 each. They're going in reverse. So yesterday, card 20 was Pete Alonso, not available any longer. Today's was card number 19, Bo Bichette, available through tomorrow morning. So it'll be running till just about Christmas time. And then Topps re-released their ESPN 30 for 30 Once Upon a Time in Queens. This is the collector's edition. It's available now through December 23rd. It's $60. You'll get 25 cards, so you'll need at least two boxes of these to make the complete 50-card set. Each box comes with 1 sticker auto guaranteed. So have at it if you didn't already get that. Why they released this again, who the hell knows? Thanks, Tops.
See, I already jumped the shark on that and picked up my own. Once Upon a Time in Queens, Mets themed purchase. Picked up a Darryl Strawberry double bat jersey relic as he's part of my home run collection. I think he climbed in under the top rookie single season hitters.
And one of the greatest swings you'll ever see. Strawberry has to be on a short list with.
Well, it's a nice pose.
With Griffey and Clark and.
Sure.
Yeah, that left-handed swing is beautiful. And then
plus
also
he played for the St. Paul Saints.
All right. And then also 2021 Onyx Vintage Extended Series came out. Baseball came out today. All scheduled release dates are subject to change, but were current as of this morning. MSRP pricing, product details were gathered from Blowout, sometimes other places. Check out Ryan Cracknell's articles on Beckett.com/news for more details. Coming up next week on Wednesday the 8th, Rittenhouse Game of Thrones Iron Anniversary Series 2. If you're a GOT fan, Panini 1-and-1 basketball. 2021 Panini Spectra football. Topps Chrome Black baseball. And Topps Heritage High Number, all on Wednesday next
Nice
week.
to see Topps Chrome Black is back. It's one of my favorite sets to look at.
That was a nice sleeper set last year.
It was
Came out
a little pricey, but yeah, a little pricey. And then next Friday, December 10th, WWE Heritage Wrestling by Topps will come out.
I believe you're Rich.
All right. So as we head toward the Hobby Talk section, Infield Chatter Hobby Talk, as we head towards 2022. Card Purchaser posted the question, what card has dropped the most over the past year? Obviously, not all markets are built the same with the same variables attached, but here were some of the responses. Quick caveat, I did not confirm any of these. So take these responses at face value that the responder knew the market well enough to have commented, so we can't confirm or deny unless we know. A couple of the names that popped out to me, Luka Doncic. Mass production, high pop counts were the reason that people were giving.
Jason not by hand.
We'll get into that here in a moment too. Yeah, perhaps that doesn't help, right? Jason Dominguez because he's a prospect. Ronald Acuna, injury related. Joe Adele, Kyle Lewis, production based. Lionel Messi, Andrew.
I think that has to stem from the fact that he just left the one club that he's been with since he was 12, 13 years old. He left Barcelona to wins to PSG through no fault of his own. I would say
And that's who?
PSG is Paris Saint-Germain, the French team. He had to leave Barcelona due to Barcelona actually having essentially what over here we would call salary cap issues. And so they literally could not sign him. So he went there. But he did just win the equivalent of the MVP award again for a record 8th time. So I think if he has a big year in the Champions League in the next few months, I think you will definitely see a rebound on that part as well.
Yeah, and then a couple other ones. Second-year quarterbacks, of course, right? They always fall off the next year. Tua specifically was the name that kept coming up most frequently as a significant drop. Zion Williamson, Prisms specifically, same as Luka. Everybody and their brother has 10 of them, and they're all graded, and they're all Gem Mint 10s through PSA. And then Project 2020 had come up a couple of times as seeing a significant drop, obviously, with 400 cards.
Project 7 was ever high.
Well, it went from $7 to $5. So
percentage-wise, fine. Then.
Percentage-wise, it's a significant drop. So yeah, Project 70 kind of cannibalized and bastardized that. So, any others that you guys can think of? Thoughts? Yay, nay? I mean, does it really matter? I mean, stuff kind of goes up and goes down. And
Luis Robert.
Yeah.
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, so if anybody out there is listening, wants to share any names to kind of add to the list, those are just some of the more interesting ones that kind of popped out that all at one time or another, or most of them, were commanding a fairly decent amount of money.
Hockey tie-in, maybe the previous year's champions. So in this case, the back-to-back Lightning.
Yeah, you get these artificial bumps for a while. Matt Major mentioned the McGuire rookie after the documentary. I mean, you saw all the Chicago Bulls jump up, not just the Jordans, but even like the B.J. Armstrongs and the Horace Grants. Those weren't sustainable. And we knew that, but people were buying them because they were excited again about the 1998 Bulls and Sosa and McGuire a few months later. And it's like, stop. So this brings us to a topical question. With the looming lockout strike tonight,
So funny story. Per Jeff Passan,
1991 Don Zimmer. I love it.
There you go.
I love
Major
it.
League Baseball has officially implemented a lockout. Sources tell ESPN the 9th work stoppage in the sports history has begun.
All right, so there she is. So we are in a lockout. So will the secondary baseball market be affected? Jeremiah_Baldo asked this question. Will we see any movement at all? Some, and if we do, long term? I mean, how do we see that the baseball market will be affected? I mean, is it going to happen or not?
I think the easiest answer is depends on how long it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you have about a month and a half grace period here where there's no baseball anyway going on. Sure. It's not even spring training or pitchers and catchers reporting. So I think you have a little bit of a leeway there. Once you start getting into losing spring training, big players, some names still haven't signed, that kind of stuff, then you might start to see it. But, it'll probably be short term. I don't think it'll be a long term issue.
Yeah,
because of this specific issue.
I think we'll see a new CBA in place sometime in February.
Yeah.
Perhaps sooner, but probably mid-February. I don't think we'll lose any spring training games. And yeah, it's the off season, so the market always drops for all sports for the most part, unilaterally for a small window in the off season. Baseball's usually affected 10-15% drop. I don't think it's going to affect anything. I don't think we're going to miss games, especially on the heels of lost revenues from COVID last year. And we all saw.
Definitely don't want to do what hockey did in 05-06, where they lost a complete season. It's not a good look.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, 05. Oh, well, they've had a few half-season lockouts, but the full season complete lockout was 04, 05, 05.
My word. That seems like it was like 14, 15 or something.
Maybe
good Lord.
Even. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I'm saying. There was one.
There was a half-season.
Was it a half-season lockout?
Not quite. Yeah, I think they played 48 games.
So we'll try to keep tabs on this particular topic if over the next few weeks, now that there's officially a lockout. Are we seeing significant? It's got to be significant because you're always going to see a drop off this time of year. So we'll have to keep an eye. As a relevant follow-up, any of the marquee Major League Baseball players who've signed with their new teams, will their respective secondaries be affected at all? Will we see none, mild, significant? I'm going to go one by one real quick, just, kind of short answer. Are we going to see anything? First off, Corey Seager, Dodgers to the Rangers. We seen anything at all? None, mild, significant?
Drop.
I think that fans here in Dallas have a lot to be excited for with his signing, as well as I think one on also that's on the list. Mm-hmm. I think in particular those have a slight increase.
Yeah, I mean, you put them together, Seager and Simeon. I mean, are we going to see new collectors? I mean, the Rangers just don't typically have a lot of collectors.
As Josh Hamilton put it, Dallas isn't a sports town.
But also don't forget, too, there's a difference between Seager and Simeon. Seager's coming from the Dodgers. As much as I hate them, they're a big market team. He was the kid there. He was the homegrown. They loved him over here. And they were not happy that he went somewhere else.
Well, and with Simeon, I had mentioned this a while back. We were talking about, it's probably a year ago now, under represented players in the hobby. Guys just don't seem to have a lot of cards. Mm-hmm. And this was before Simeon, probably 2019. So maybe it was towards the beginning of the show even. I just was collecting some Simeon cards one time, put him in. I'm like, man, he just doesn't have a lot of cards for a guy that's been around for 5 years. Since then, it's been ramped up, of course, because he's had a couple of really solid seasons in 19 and 21. But I just don't see.
Also just crept into my home run collection in that he holds the all-time second base record.
Yeah. Avisail Garcia, Brewers to Marlins.
No change.
No.
Okay.
Can you name more than 5 Marlins collectors?
Yeah.
Can you name more than 2?
The players' parents.
Ranger collectors are 3-1 over Marlins. So we'll lump these two guys together. Starling Marte, Mark Canha both went from the A's to the Mets.
Maybe because of the next guy that you're going to bring up, maybe you'll see a slight bump because it's the Mets.
I mean, yeah, you can we can go ahead and mention him. Scherzer went from the Dodgers to the Mets.
I think Scherzer will bump up Marte and Canha.
I can agree with that.
Canha doesn't have a lot of cards. He's another guy that just doesn't have a lot out there. I think last year was the first time he had Topps autos, if I'm not mistaken. He had, I think, Immaculate or something the year before. But Canha just doesn't have a lot out there. So, Steph, I threw him on there, even though he stayed with the Twins. I put Byron Buxton on there because there was a lot of rumor about him possibly being traded.
No one cares about the Twins.
Except those of us who do. No, in market, yes. Out of market, no.
You think that his card will appreciate a little bit because he's staying?
Just because he is staying. We like people who want to stay with us. And, as opposed to any of the number of players who wanted out after a few years, we tend to stick by those that want to stay. Kevin Garnett, a few others come to mind.
So if none of these guys see a significant appreciation, not the slight bump, but like seriously, new market, all the collectors want to go grab their stuff. Despite it being a huge free agent class, right? All of these shortstops and you had Verlander and Kershaw and Greinke and Scherzer. You had all of these Hall of Fame pitchers. If none of these guys who change teams are going to see a significant bump, outside of perhaps Ohtani in 2024, if he were to leave the Angels, what's it going to take for a player to move teams to see a significant bump, or is it just these guys are 7+ years into the league, nobody cares anymore?
To have more than 2 autographs.
Who's that?
For Mark Canha.
Yeah.
He only has 2 autographs at all.
What are they listed as?
There is a 2021 Finest, and there is a 2021 Topps Update. There is nothing previously.
Do you see, other than Ohtani switching teams, did we really see a bump with Harper? Harper's
younger not going anywhere.
Maybe
no, but when he left a couple years ago.
Oh,
Vladdy. Okay, so
I can see that.
Toronto boys,
especially if some of those Toronto boys go back to the teams their dads were on.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Because Tatis isn't going anywhere. Franco's now signed a long-term deal. Acuna is staying.
See Vladdy with the Angels.
Matt Major brings up Chris Bryant, perhaps, if he goes to a big market.
Yeah.
Carlos Correa to the Yankees or somebody like that.
See, but Correa and the Yankees don't play nice. So I don't know that there's a lot of Yankees collectors that
neither
are going to run out and go grab
with
Correa.
Euclid, and he signed with the Yankees, did he not?
Yeah, but Correa cheated, and there's that whole he's not going to be well received in New York. I don't know that card collectors are going to want to go out and grab his stuff.
You win a World Series for you. It changes everything.
They'll root for the laundry as soon as the season starts. But I don't know that you're going to want to go out and grab him in your PC.
Dirty.
Really, you're not going to see bumps unless these guys, big name guys, move to big markets. Like that's just the way it goes. You can't really predict. It's not the player. It's not just the player. It's the team too. It's just the way the game is.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I don't think we're going to see any. But if this class isn't going to warrant any significant bump, there's not any that is. I mean, this is a very significant group of players.
I mean, this market too is predicated more on the rookies than
It is.
By the time these get to their free agent years, they're. I mean, how many of them are even gonna last to finish out their contracts anyway? How much?
So, speaking of Ohtani, it looks like Shohei has changed his auto via balking avocados.
Yeah,
he posted a tweet. We've seen a lot of players shortening their autos due to the sheer amount of autos they're being asked to sign nowadays. Yoenis Cespedes was one that went from Cespedes to Y52C. Ohtani appears to have shortened his significantly. Do you have a problem with this as a collector? And are you surprised we don't see this more often, at least from the active players, not the retired players? But guys like Ohtani, he's being asked to sign everything. Poor kid.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's signed that much nowadays.
So my first question is, how much is this the sticker space versus how much they're being asked to sign? Like, is this on card? So then maybe he goes with a little bit longer of a signature versus, well, okay, I got to fit it within a 3/4 of an inch by 2-3 inches.
That's a very fair point.
Yeah, good thinking. Yeah, I didn't catch that.
Just I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, it would be nice if they did it strictly starting at like the beginning of the year, so you have a clear delineation from which year to year. But I mean, as long as they're consistent at the end of the day,
that's really what
I mean, Randy Arozarena, I'm waiting to see what his autograph is going to look like. I mean, that guy wrote out his name every single time, and he doesn't have the shortest name, so don't tell me he's not going to change his autograph.
Well, as somebody with the world's simplest autograph, it's easy to write many times over. But I get that need to have a short autograph, but at the same time, and make it distinct, not just scribble.
You don't just do a line with 2 dots like Cam Reddish?
No. I mean, for the most part, we're not all going to get something to this dedication right here where it's gorgeous. And every single card of his is signed the same. Now, not that he's a huge prospector, who's even still playing.
Pull up Randy's.
See, that's what I loved about Cespedes is he changed it to Y52, which was his jersey number, C. So his initials with his jersey number in the middle. But when he signed in person, he still went with the full Cespedes. And I just think these guys are just being asked to sign so much. I don't have a problem with it, Steph. Maybe you're right. Maybe it was just the auto versus live. But then we saw this side-by-side comparison, Steph, if you can bring up the Luka picture of, first off, again, to your point, Steph, if you're right, on Ohtani's, they were completely different cards, signed at different times. And, archives, tops now, they weren't signed at the same sitting, where the Luka ones were the same exact card, just different parallels.
Yeah.
Were they sticker autos, though?
I believe Optic that year was on card.
Okay.
Yeah, and these are considerably different. I was sitting having dinner with my dad, and I asked him, I was like, hey, take a look at these. Same person sign all these?
The top 2, yes.
Okay, that's the Lulu auto.
The same person signed those 2.
But they don't look like they signed the first ones.
And then
on the bottom, it looks like it's a half and half.
Mm-hmm.
I would say these 2 are signed by the same person.
And I'd say the one to the left even.
This and these 2 are signed by the same person. That could go either way. I mean, at the same time, if you're being paid to sit here and sign 900 autos, which, congrats, by the way, we just hit 900 subscribers. Yay, thank you for listening. They're not all going to look the same. I mean, if I were to sit and even do my swirly autograph a couple hundred times, it probably won't look just like this, where I took a couple seconds.
Prove it tomorrow.
No.
I want to see a video.
Nope.
You know what this looks like? If you've seen The Office, there's a scene in season 2 when Michael Scott procrastinates all day on signing. He's got to sign expense reports, sign off on payroll and the quarterlies for corporate, all on the same day. So he does the little ditty on his, where he taps his mug that he doesn't want to do any work. And all day he's procrastinating. At the end of the day, they got 30 minutes left. So he's like, let's just everybody grab a pen. Let's gangbang this real quick. Let's get it done. We got to get it, And so everybody's forging his auto. And Angela's like, I don't feel comfortable. And Stanley's like, I don't care. I just want to go home. And it seems like that's what it was. Like Luca had some friends over, and it's like everybody grab a stack, start signing. I don't know. I'm not going to. There's been some questions in the past about Luca specifically and his mom signing. So buyer beware.
Was it John Morant who had just the little slash line?
No, Jaws was.
No, Cam Reddish.
That's right.
But he had the 2 dots sometimes.
Oh, he had the 2 dots. Okay.
He was the guy with the 2 dots sometimes.
So get your tickets now. National at NSCC Show. Tickets to the 2022 National Sports Collectors Convention are officially on sale. The 42nd National is going to be held in Atlantic City at the Atlantic City Convention Center, Atlantic City, New Jersey, from July 27th through July 31st of 2022. Is this too early to be selling tickets, and are you guys going?
Yes and no.
When should they start selling?
When they I would say it's not too early to announce that show tickets will be available soon. That way you get people ready, and you acknowledge that there will be one this year, unlike 2 years ago. However, I think you wait until some of the vendors announce their autograph guests, even just an early preliminary. And I think you let everyone make some announcements before you say, hey, they're all available. And now, at the same time, that's probably why tickets are available. However, it does look like they've had that announced that they would be available at the end of November, early December in this case. I think it's too soon.
8 months. Put them on.
As someone who's done Comic-Con, this is not too soon. Comic-Con was literally announcing tickets the day the convention the year before closed. So just because they're announcing them, you don't got to buy it.
Sure. Well, no, and that was to my point. It's like,
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Like they're all still available.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to Atlantic City, so
nope.
I mean, regardless of what they do, it's not going to change my mind about going to Atlantic City. So,
April 1st, beginning of Q2, 4 months in advance. That's plenty of time.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean they can't. I understand they announce it soon. Some people know they're going. Lock them in. It's an interesting year next year with basically the end of Topps and Panini. So, it's interesting. It's interesting that they're even announcing it, because who knows what it's gonna be like. But they got it. You're paying money for it right now, so they got to get an early cash flow.
Posted 35.
Hey, they got to pay. Yeah, they got you get all your money now, and then you don't even have to sit on it. It's the Costco theory. So.
A letter to baseball fans, Office of the Commissioner. I'll paste that in chat if anybody wants to read what the commissioner's thoughts are.
Aw, Manfred's trying to save face since now he's overseeing the 9th lockout in MLB history. Poor guy. I feel bad for him.
Wow. He
Such
really
a nice
wrote that letter fast, considering they only had the lockout going 40 minutes ago.
So I want to pivot to politics for a minute. Now, before you guys turn the show off, hear us out. It's relevant to the hobby, so bear with us. The article
you've already brought up the West Wing, but
Yeah, but that's the West Wing. That's just a great show. That has nothing to do with politics. That's just good writing.
Is it though?
Stop. So bear with us for a second. The article comes by way of PCMag.com, an electronics-based website. I'm sure it's other places too, but hey, it's not politics website, so we're good with that. First off, I'm going to limit the specifics on the politicians involved as to not to alienate anyone or politicize this any more than can be. Democratic lawmakers are reintroducing legislation to outlaw the use of automated bots on e-commerce websites. So this would affect, in theory, the ability for bots to purchase retail goods, such as video game consoles and graphics cards from websites. Although not specifically listed, I would imagine it would slow the bots buying in the hobby as well.
Mm-hmm.
A similar law was passed in 2016 outlawing bots to buy or to purchase tickets to concerts and sporting events for resale, and making it illegal for scalpers to sell said tickets acquired from automated bots. This law is really targeting bots that buy up popular holiday toys and gaming items to resell at inflated prices to desperate parents. The law is being labeled as the Grinch Bot Act.
I love that name.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting. So, you know, it is a political bill, but it's one that if it can bleed into our hobby, got to be a good thing, right, guys? I mean,
as with anything, it would depend on what's actually in the bill and what the enforcement is. It does look like the FTC would be tasked with said enforcement. But if the aim of the bill is to crack down on people immediately purchasing things and being able to resell at a steep discount, not discount, marked up price and screwing over consumers, I mean, as it mentioned, graphics cards are stupid expensive right now. I'm stuck on 3 generations previous. The Switch were hard to come by. The PlayStation 5 took me 9 months to get. Good luck finding one of these in the wild. A Pokemon Celebrations Elite Trainer box that we luckily found today. Otherwise, I mean, so the box is $50 in store, but it's like $150 online. Why? Just because you went there early and picked it up? Now, this seems to be aimed at online whatnots, and again, it depends on what all is actually to the bill. But I'd be interested to see if this goes down and its aim is actually met.
So instead of the Grinch Bot Act, Matt Major says it should have been called the Dwight Schrute Princess Unicorn Act. Fa la 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 la.
I'm gonna nod my head and.
So yeah, he bought up a toy and was selling it during a Christmas episode. So
Cabbage.
Anyway, hey,
it's
check out that article on PCMag.com if you want to read up a little bit more on the proposed bill. It can't hurt. Again, depending on how it's read, I don't know if it'll bleed over into Topps and Panini type websites. I don't know how that would work exactly, but
I mean, I would assume so because for example, when Panini puts out their whether it's the Dutch auction or what have you, and it immediately gets hit by bots at the lowest price, and you can't purchase a box of something. Not that this happened to me individually. This would be nice to say, hey, do something about it. You're hurting consumers that may have wanted your product.
This is good legislation, regardless of what type of political affiliation you have or what side of the aisle you fall on. Automated bots, should not be buying up consumer products, regardless of what it is from retail sites, and then penalizing parents who weren't available. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I used to go to try to get on concerts, and before you know it, all the good seats are. It's like, hey, they just went on sale a minute ago.
Maybe Pearl Jam had something right.
I get like American Express lets like early customers in. If you've got an Amex, you get it early. I get that, and sometimes you can find those codes not so legally online, and perhaps get in yourself and buy with a Visa. But this can't hurt. So anyway. It's political, but at the same time, it's relevant to the hobby. Hopefully, if it does get passed, it does see a positive effect on our ability to access retail products fairly. That's all. Buy it, don't buy it, like the price, don't like the price, at least as long as we all have a fair opportunity to buy something like that, whether it's that or it's, my horn can pierce the sky, Idiot criminals gonna idiot via KEPR TV News in Kennewick, Washington. This one's kind of wild. I like this one. A criminal whose name we won't mention, but is mentioned in the article, was caught stealing Pokemon cards at a local Walmart in Washington. An armed loss prevention officer, or LPO, confronted him, and a shootout ensued. Yeah, a shootout over, wait for it, Pokemon cards. The LPO followed the suspect outside after he ran and pushed an employee. The LPO was only going to obtain the license plate information according to the report when the suspect pulled a gun and fired at the LPO. The LPO wrestled the gun away and fired at the suspect, hitting him twice. The suspect fled the scene in his car and was later detained at his residence without incident. Police officers found other sports cards at the suspect's home, where he admitted that they had come from a recent burglary in which he was going to trade them for fentanyl pills. So,
America.
You gotta love it, right?
I get cards are hot right now, but stay out of the fentanyl. That's strictly something that we've seen far too many people pass away untimely because of that shit. That should be under doctor's use only.
Yeah, the addiction. We don't want to laugh at the addiction. We want to laugh at the stupidity of the criminal. Luckily, the officer, nobody at Walmart was injured. The only person that appeared to be injured and it was not fatal was the criminal. So now that he's in the authorities, and the good news was when he was detained, it was without incident. So the officers that were arresting him and the criminal himself. I mean, it's easy to giggle at something like that, but the good news is nobody lost their life. Nobody was seriously injured. Hey, and if you're out there, not to make this a PSA, but there are plenty of resources if addiction is something that you or a loved one suffers from. So definitely reach out. Sports Card Daily shared an interesting upcoming auction. A T206 Honus Wagner was uncovered in a private collection after 25 years. But just one thing about the card. Yeah, kind of. It's authentic, but it's only a partial.
It's genuine.
It is. SCP Auctions will be auctioning the card from January 19th, 22 through February 5th of 22. The opening bid will be $25,000 with no reserved. It is slabbed by PSA, listed as genuine with no
And it
grade.
looks like it's PSA slab number 2.
So, I mean, the good news is it's partial, but it's still got his face and a good portion of his body. I mean, if you're going to be missing 40% of the card, the 40% that's missing is the correct 40%, I would say, right?
I'd agree.
Interesting to see. We'll have to try to...
Pitt, you have Wagner, you have most of his face, 90% of his face. It looks like kind of like a Pac-Man card, almost. Just whoop, whoop. Or the state of Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
You see it now too, don't you?
I was thinking Vermont.
It's still beautiful and
upside down Delaware.
It'll be interesting to see. That's your geography lesson for tonight, boys and girls. Interesting to see what this goes for. So if we'll check it out in February and see how much it ends up selling for. Any predictions?
250,000.
I was thinking 2. Yeah,
I'd say about 4, perhaps. I mean, it's not going to hit $1 million.
No,
you never know. Hey, it just takes 2 people, right? So, interesting video from Colin Teddards at Sports Card Radio. He posted this yesterday, November 30th, on YouTube. It's titled "Group Breakers Going Broke." He eventually gets into some non-topical talk about some personal things, his Amazon business and whatnot. But the first 10 to 15 minutes are very interesting. It's about 27 minutes in total. basically he talks about the dynamics of what Fanatics is going to look like, and the fact that Topps and Panini have propped up a lot of these breakers as to how they sell them product, and basically they've allowed the breakers to make all of this profit, and Fanatics' intent is to cut back on that. So who knows? I mean, we've talked about this some ourselves and speculated on that idea. If you want, go check out Sports Card Radio, Group Breakers Going Broke, first 10 to 15 minutes. Really good insight by Colin. I know Colin and Ryan aren't the most popular guys in the hobby. They're, shock jocks of sorts. But at the very least, it was worth a 10 to 15 minute listen. It's some good insight, just kind of how the whole breaking industry is and where they're making their profits, and a lot of that will be going away under Fanatics oversight. So just got a couple of evergreen topics before we wrap up the show. Let's get, since Andrew's a breaker, this is kind of a fun one we can have a little bit of fun with. Paul Lesko asked a long time ago, what is your biggest breaker pet peeve? So if you're watching a break, whether you're involved or not, what is your biggest pet peeve? Some of the ones that he had asked: failure to fully show the cards on camera, mispronouncing player names, unfamiliar with the product details that they're breaking, mishandling cards, shaky camera setup, dirty or unkempt hands, breakers that do not ship base, other. Andrew, I know you break both personally and professionally. What is your biggest pet peeve or something that you try to avoid?
Well, I always ship the base, so I mean that's just not applicable to me because I don't have room for all the base. It's just
it should be mandatory.
It should be.
My cards, right? I bought the team. I don't know.
The mishandling is what would bother me the most. Dirty, unkempt hands. Yeah, I mean, if they're crazy dirty, fine. I mean, obviously, don't do that. Mispronouncing the player names or unfamiliar with the product details. That to me, some of these guys, you're going fast. The cards are upside down, especially with Top Series 1 and Series 2 this year. The names were so tiny that I throw some leeway with those. Really, the mishandling of the cards is where, just anything that would potentially damage the cards to me is probably the biggest issue I would see. Because, if you don't know the players' names, you don't know the product details, at the end of the day, if you still give them the cards and they're still in great shape, you're getting what you paid for, kind of thing.
Right.
So anything that would limit the product that you are getting is probably the biggest issue I would see.
And to your point, and this is something that I meant to say an hour ago. Okay, so these two are horizontally the same, right? But because Topps is Topps.
Oh, you gotta love the
much like Update, the backs are swapped on a good chunk of them. So that would easily aid and add to the confusion, name pronunciation, etc.
Yeah, I mean there are some. I mean, especially with the draft pick sets where you most of these guys are still in, or they're fresh out of college. 3/4 of them won't even make the NBA or the NFL, and some of the names are just hard to pronounce, and
Sure.
So I totally get that. I mean, the soccer breaks that I do, I watch a lot of soccer, and so I know a lot of these guys. Even I still have problems with that. I watch soccer on a weekly basis, and there's just so many people.
But at the same time, if you're, say, for example, Tim Shepler, you should probably know that it's not Jonathan Toes.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in the league for 15 years almost. At some point, you gotta know, but
it's Taves, buddy. Taves.
Yeah. No, I get it.
a shaky camera. You should have a professional setup, even if you're new, right? We have the technology. Always show your cards on camera.
Right.
Yeah.
When they said failure to fully show cards on camera, to me that was like you didn't show, like you only showed like 3/4 of it. If you're doing some stuff off camera, that's a big no.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. You got.
Everything has to be always in sight of the camera. That's basically rule number one.
The worst offense, though, and Andrew, you nailed it, is these cards don't belong to you. They belong to somebody else. They've been purchased. You are opening them, yes. You need to protect them and be careful with them and do everything you can to ensure. I mean, don't wear gloves. I mean, that's stupid. Stop. But be courteous. I mean, we've seen people, tap cards and be really. We showed one dude that was like super rough with his cards, and he was like damn near bending them. And it's just like, stop.
Yeah,
those don't belong to you, and even if they do, still stop. They're trading cards, and they're not going to belong to you forever. So, if you have breaker pet peeves that we didn't mention, you can hit up us. Tag Paul_Lesko, even though he sent that out months ago and probably won't remember he did.
Tag me too, so I don't do it. No, I mean, and I understand. At the same time too. When I ship out cards, cards get damaged in transit. That happens. I've the past few breaks too. Cards get damaged. Send me a picture. More often than not, you get a full refund. If you don't get the product that you were promised, it's just the way it goes, unfortunately. So, just be a little respectful to us. We're doing our best.
I think another good one would be failing to evolve. Whether it's not necessarily, I mean, if you're a baseball breaker, but by all means stick to that. Please don't try to pronounce Brizgalov or spell it for that matter. But if you see that your base card, your more base set focused releases sell better, maybe just shift your focus to that instead of Chops Triple Threads, where it sits unsold for weeks.
So before we get out of here tonight, guys, the shit you see on eBay and Facebook. This one was funny. Came across a while back, but this has got to take the cake for best of cancel my order. CKK4 Polar on eBay is going to jail. He has no more money. It needs to cancel his auction win of a 2021 Prism Mac Jones Crusade Red Cracked Ice. And that's what he said. Hey, I'm going to jail. Cancel. He ain't got no more money. I appreciate the fact that the cops are breaking down his door. He's about to be carried off in the paddy wagon. But he's like, he's in his bathroom hunkered down because he's got to send this really quick thing to the seller. Hey, going to jail. Cancel. Got to admire his priorities in the right spot. So, I don't know if that's the best ever, but that's definitely got to be on the short list of one of the best evers.
I mean, work related, there was somebody who had a complaint that we were selling a Sears card that showed a bit or a drill or whatnot that was complaining that for 99 cents he wasn't getting the actual drill bit or the drill. Like,
No.
In the description, at no point does it not say like 8 to 10 times that we're a trading card business. Cards, check out my cards. You're not getting a drill for 99 cents. I'm sorry.
Good try. Final thoughts, guys? Anybody have anything to add before we get out of here?
Couple things. One, I did want to acknowledge again, thank you to our listeners. Apparently, I saw a pre-show that we had 900 subscribers on YouTube. And then, if anybody can help me with my Topps Holiday, I am only missing 6 cards. Numbered from the base set: 53, 61, 73, 114, 158, and 166. Hit me up. Let me know. And give us back baseball. I'm grumpy.
Unless it drives down the prices over the next 30 to 60 days, let's save some money. and then it can go back up later or something, or maybe not. So, Drew, you got anything?
Everyone just have great holidays. I don't think I'm going to be on the rest of the year, but I'll be watching, listening. Have great holidays. Be safe and have fun.
Absolutely, and we really appreciate it. One last time too, Chris Carlin, if you're out there, if you hear this, hey, condolences. Definitely sorry to hear about the passing of your brother John. So if there's anything that we can do, Steph and I, Andrew can do for you, let us know. Our phones are on. If you need anybody to talk to, we're here for you, my man. So remember, we're live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific.
10 Central.
On YouTube, you can subscribe and review our show on all platforms. We want to thank everybody. Thank Matt Schwartz, FCG CEO, any listeners that hopped in tonight, even if it was just for part of the show or the entirety, any new subscribers and listeners that we might have picked up. We appreciate that. We appreciate Matt's transparency, answered some fairly tough questions. It's not easy when you're trying to sell your business. So we want to thank him. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at About the Cards, Steph at Junkwax Twins. Where can we find you, Andrew?
Bayside Breakers.
And I'm Ben. You can on our trading cards. Please share your hobby stories, great pulls. Send your questions our way. Keep collecting. Take care.
And we will see you guys next week.